Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up, but first, let's take a look at our weather. It's going to be a nice day, it looks like today. It's brought to us by Drew Pollard. He didn't bring us the weather, he's bringing us a weather report. The Gulf Coast Air Conditioning, God brings us the weather, okay? It's going to be a high today of actually going to get up to 78 and a low of 68, so not bad right there. Water temperature at the end of the pier is 69.3, so cool off just a hair, just really nice. Going to be a nice week, hopefully. I get the early part of the week. I say that every week. The last couple of weeks, it hasn't turned out that way. The river reading brought to us by Mountain Dew. Get out and do. We're looking at a Apalachicola up Blountstown. Check it out, 21 foot high. It's at a 21 foot mark, and folks, it is high water all along the Apalachicola River system. The Choctaw at Caryville, it's dropping out a little bit, about 10.3 right now, and got a little bit of a drop to it. And that will continue to drop until, of course, we have more rain. The tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Looking at decent tides today, we have a low tide at 9:37 and high tide this afternoon, or later on, right over sunset, at about 7:03. Neap tides coming up this weekend, so also the full moon coming up Saturday. Don't forget about it. All right, let's take our break, and we'll be right. Oh, the wind. The wind's going to be coming out of the south-southeast at 10 or 15. That's about seasonal for this time of year. Now, let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and welcome to our guest, our regular guest, Daniel Cole. Good morning, buddy.
How's it going, bud?
Glad to have you back. It's been hard for us to get it together. You've been working, or I've been going one way?
Out of town, schooling, one thing and another.
Speaking of out of town, in fact, I talked to him the other day. He was on the road to New Orleans. I thought you were going over there having a nice time, a little vacation, but you were going to school.
Yep, we're always trying to keep up on our schooling and keep our certifications up. So
that is updating and certification. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what do you have to do?
I have to look at it to remember. It's such a long name. It's Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. So USPAP for short. Okay. It's a program that actually was developed for real estate for determining proper values, but what we've done lately is they've been infusing it more and more into the marine industry to use that same standard of protocol. Basically, you're supposed to be able to take the standards and be able to appraise anything of value. And so it's becoming more and more important, especially in legal cases where you have boat values that are established by that practice.
Okay.
A lot of judges, a lot of legal entities will not even accept any more report from a marine surveyor if there's a monetary value involved, if it's not been done according to that USPAP practice. So
okay.
You get into lawsuits, you get into whatever it is, representation, insurance, whatever it is, they want you to use that standard method. So I had the certification course a couple of years ago, but then every 2 years you have to go and you re-update that. So that's what we were doing as a refresher.
So you have to go all the way over there to get it done?
It's the closest place.
Closest place.
Yep.
So they're doing that more or less, keep the standard up all along the Gulf Coast, Atlantic Coast, and all through.
It's nationwide.
Nationwide.
You should be able to go anywhere nationwide. I don't care if it's a lump of coal or a diamond. You should be able to use that method. And determine, what its value is.
Speaking of boat prices, now I know you talked to some of your fellow surveyors. What are they? I always like to talk to them when y'all get together and all. What are they saying around their area? From Texas and all over the place?
Same thing. It's just amazing, even with the economy the way it is and with gas prices so high and everything going on. I mean, they're through the roof. Boat prices are up there with everything else, and people are paying it. We've been extremely busy.
Yeah. Extremely
busy. We've actually, fitting people in has been a challenge sometimes in the limited amount of time they've had for closings because of such a high volume of sales.
Your fellow appraisers that you talk to out there and all, were they seeing a lot of good quality boats, or were they seeing some stuff sort of covered up? I always ask that question out here.
It's really been a mixed bag.
Okay.
It's really been a mixed bag, and depending on where it comes from, who's selling it, you know. Never has there been a time probably it's been any more important to have a boat surveyed you're looking at buying because there are a lot of people trying to put stuff off, but there are still some quality boats out there.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to. Is there any particular area that we don't want to buy a boat from, or?
No, I mean you couldn't put it on that type of a.
Because I asked that because years ago when one of the hurricanes hit and all, those boats were damaged. I think we talked about it. I forget which hurricane it was. How a lot of those boats sort of got put back together and put on the market. I think you'd mention that.
That always happens, and from hurricanes all the way down to Keys, Homestead, Michael here, the one they just had over in Orange Beach. Our whole area really has been affected within the last 5 years by all these hurricanes. So there's no one specific place, but they all need to kind of be watched.
And that's the purpose of a surveyor, because
that's right.
That's the thing we talked about before. We can't see. Anything coming up new in the field as far as new designs, anything y'all going to see?
Nothing that jumps out at me. I mean, they're always updating. There's always some new formulated hottest thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The hottest things. I know when the tunnel oils came out on the smaller boats. Well, boy, they really got popular.
They did. In fact, that's what I have.
Okay.
I've got a G3 tunnel hole because a lot of times I like getting in really, shallow water, or like we were discussing earlier. Sometimes there's some places on the river you have to get over a hump to get back to the sloughs where you want to get to. So shallow draft and it aggravates people when you go to Shell Island and they're all anchored off and you just pull right up onto the shore and get out.
I know that. They're looking, where'd that guy get that boat from? Exactly. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Got some cool pictures to show you. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Here with Daniel Cole, Panhandle Outdoors boat expert. If you have any questions, need to get an appraisal, get a hold of Daniel. We're talking about different kind of fishing, and we always share stories off air and all. We both came to a conclusion about we've both been too busy lately to fish and hunt. You did get to go quail hunting a couple times.
We did, yeah. I had to make about 3 trips quail hunting, and I love that. So.
Well, it just hit me. I have missed quail season. I did not get to go quail hunting this year. I think this is the first time I've missed quail hunting since I've been doing Panhandle Outdoors, I think. So anyway, you just get wrapped up in your timing, you got to get your timing right with your buddies, and all kinds of things happen. So take advantage of it when you can. Speaking of taking advantage of things, we always talk about on redfish tour. I know we talk about redfishing a lot. Fred Myers and his buddy Brett Ortis, they're in a professional redfishing circuit, and they just had this tournament this past weekend, he and Brett. And I was reading up on it. It's interesting. We talk about, what they have is a 2-day tournament. And we're talking about, ounces here and ounces there, how important, you try to get those big fish, Mm-hmm. And here's Fred's post now. He posted this yesterday. There's a grind to say the least. Anyway, right there, the center paragraph, top line. We fished very clean and no mistakes, but fell 9/100 short of the big win. They got second place from the professional league. Here, I'm going to show it to you. This is right here. Okay, here's the winners. Chuck McKinney and I don't know the two guys, but day one, okay, day one right there. Look at the top 1 and 2, okay? Fred and Brett are in second place. Day 1 and day 2. The total weight, okay, right here in the center of the screen. First place had 46 pounds, .41. Fred and Brett had 46 pounds, .32. 9/100ths, that's how close it was. And then look at third place. So that's interesting, and congratulations, Fred, on getting second. That's the top echelon of the fishermen all there. Here's a picture of them right here. That's 4 good ones away in it right there. Real nice. Fred and Brett, and then they still won what, $13,900. That's not a bad weekend.
Not bad.
And a nice painting to go with it. And while we're talking about it, I do have a couple more pictures. Ryan Huggins, me and Dad, Clay Huggins and Ryan, getting into those cobia, okay? And then Bill Buchanan, really nice red out there. See how light colored it is? So I caught them out there in the Gulf, okay? All right, I ran into Heather Taylor last week. Told her to send me some pictures because Houston Taylor and Johnny Taylor are such good bass fishermen. So she sent this to me. These are just a few bass Houston and son Johnny Taylor have caught through the years. They all weigh between 8 and 12 pounds, all caught in the sand hills. Is that not a wall of fine local bass right there?
Yes, it is.
Good job, the Taylor family. I just really enjoy having them on. Then one last one here. This is Mason Morales. Talking about a pretty redfish. That's down your way around Carabel. That's a pretty redfish right there. Good job,
Beautiful.
Mason. We've had a not a bad week this past week of fishing in spite of the weather.
Hadn't that been crazy?
Have you ever seen it blown as much through April?
No, I haven't. I remember as a kid, it always we talked about March would always be windy weather. And back when I was sailing, I would love March because we knew we'd get the boat out and run it. But anymore, that's moved into April and even into May. These really, really windy times. So I don't know what's caused that shift, but
I was saying the same thing. I don't know what caused it either, but you're right. We talked about it here on the show. We expected it in March, and we expect to start dying down in March and April. Just everything blossomed out, and so all the blooms that came out, they were all blown away just about. And there's a lot of pretty blooms though this during the spring and all. Okay, down your way, talking about Carabel and Apalachicola, everything going good down that way as far as you know?
as far as I know.
Yeah. I do know, we're talking about surf fishing, I do know they did start catching some pompano at St. George Island in the surf over the weekend. And we talk about how it always starts on the west end and comes back on an easterly fashion. And that's, that state park at St. George Island is nice.
It is. It really is a beautiful place too.
It is, and you can go fish in the bay or go fishing in the Gulf.
Well, and they've really built the area up where there's something for the whole family too. They got a lot of little shops and stuff, And of course, visiting the lighthouse there. Mm-hmm. I remember when that was over on Little St. George, we used to visit it as kids. But now that it's over there on Big St. George, more people can enjoy it, have access to it. So, a lot of history, a lot of good stuff over there.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to get down to St. George Island, it's just cool. The Blue Parrot, the little restaurant right there by the lighthouse. The thing about we talked about before,
food.
It is fresh seafood. It's local people doing it.
Yeah.
And all the families and all down there. They're getting right off the boat and they're cooking it.
That's right.
And you don't see that a lot on beachfront restaurants. You don't.
A lot of those restaurants now, they'll let you, if you catch your own fish, you can bring them in after the fishing trip. They fix them for you.
They're doing a good job with that, and that's good. I have all the trimmings, and you can't beat that. In fact, we have a friend who does that with he catches bass, and he brings it into Po Folks and Fred Bryant and some of his crew about once every week or two, and they get all the trimmings and all, and you just bring the fish. Mm-hmm. So that's something fun to do too. Okay, we're going to take a break. Before we take a break, we're going to talk about different sizes of boats and what the market is now and different things you can do. If you have any questions, we're going to put Daniel's phone number up here on the screen and talk about how to get a hold of him, how to ask questions on boats.
Yeah, I mean we do that a lot. If you have questions or whatever, feel free to reach out to us. We're always glad to help.
Oh, they still, speaking of Apalachicola, what's still on my mind because I'll forget it. They had a little boat building school at one time down there, not a school, a little area. Are they still doing that?
I'm not for sure.
I don't hear anything about it.
I don't either. And it was a pretty neat little setup because it had a lot of historical stuff. It was like a little museum down there that they were doing stuff. I'm not aware. I haven't been around it or heard anything about it lately.
Yeah, if any of you folks down there know if that's going on, I don't think it is. What they were doing, and the Sawyer family, some of the old families down there, I know Fred Sawyer would make the old boat paddles, but he built boats too. And they were trying to keep alive the tradition of building your own skiffs like the old timers, the original settlers did. And I thought that was such a neat idea. It was several years back, and I went down there a time or two, and I mean they were doing it just like the old timers. I mean, It was fascinating. So.
There's still a few guys over in Weewall that do them that way too. In fact,
are they really?
Oh yeah, my first boat was a little. I want to say it was a little 16-foot wooden skiff, and it had a little 9.5 horsepower seahorse on it, little Johnson. That thing would run, and I always tell my wife, the further we've got away from, you know, the simplicity of that, the more technology and the more other things we go to in boats, the more problems we have.
That's true now.
I never had a doubt when I pulled that cord that that thing was going to crank, and it'd take forever to get somewhere.
Yeah.
But those are some of the best times I remember.
That's some of my best memories too, along the Ocklawahan and upper end of Apalachicola. There are still a couple of guys in Weeball doing that. We need to find out who they are. I'd love to go just video them building an old boat, you know.
Wouldn't that be a great show?
It would be. So any of y'all still doing that, like, you know, I honestly can still remember my granddaddy doing it, and I wish I would paid more attention. I'd watch him a minute or two, then go play, and then come back. You know,
Sure.
That looked
Sure.
boring when I was 8 years old, but it ain't boring now.
No.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look at our fishing game time before we get back with Daniel. This is brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe. Our time today, 8:37 to 10:37, and exactly tonight, 9 to 11. 9 to 11. We're talking about boats and boat prices, you know, different things with it and all. But again, to finish up what we're talking about with the early wooden boats, they did that for several reasons. You brought up a good point. The early aluminum boats, they didn't want to fool with them because it made too much noise, right? If you drop something.
It'd make noise, you know, they would be hot. There'd be lots of different reasons.
I can still remember those old timers exactly complaining about that thing's too loud and hey, it's hot, because they're used to that old wooden boat. And you know, I've always been fascinated with old wooden boats. I guess because of my upbringing, and you saw it in your area.
Yeah. You hit it with an oar, it would clunk real loud, you know.
You had to be quiet when you're fishing with your parents and all. You better be quiet. You remember that?
Somebody be mad.
Well, that's cool. And you say the boat prices, in particular, most boat prices are going up, like cars and everything.
Everything is across the board. Everything is.
Groceries, everything's going up.
Fuel.
Yeah, the
You
fuel.
name it.
The fuel is really good. I don't see. You know, I look at some of these boat prices. My son sold his boat a couple weeks ago. I had it, kept it for over 3 years, 3 or 4 years, and sold it for $4,000 more than he paid for it brand new. And that's a testimonial is what's going on.
I agree.
Going back to something you love to do is fishing the river and all. And a lot of times I do these river readings, like today's river readings. We had 21 foot on the Apalachicola River. And I've often mentioned, you know, they're always good and bad with every situation. You always try to pick out the good stuff. And the good stuff on high water, if you remember me talking about it, and I say it on Fridays a lot, my term, you can get back in those sloughs.
That's right.
Well, you grew up in an area, so explain, you don't give the exact area, but explain some of this, how what y'all would do.
Well, there's certain areas that we like to fish that are sloughs, but they're deep holes back in the woods, which are natural occurring things. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like anything, any type of wildlife, fish like to get in an area where there's a lot of food and they're not bothered. So they get back there and there's not a lot of traffic and stuff. But some of them have ridges in the bottom that, you know, when it's a normal river reading, you can't get across it. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was mentioning why I like a tunnel hole boat, because mm-hmm. mine's tunnel holes, because I can get through shallower areas that some people can't. But getting over that hump into those deeper areas, sometimes you could do that when the water's high. There's some areas the water has to be really high on the Appalachian River for us to get some of the places we want to get. So, and
that's a testimony. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You have you know, the layout of the inner land. You have ridges and low spots, ridges mm-hmm. and low spots, and that high water puts you over those ridges.
Yep.
And especially when it gets up like 21 foot. And see, it hadn't been 21 foot this year yet. So this is the first time it's 21 foot. It's springtime, a lot of food out there.
That's right. Now you remember, it's been a while back, but we had a show you did with an FWC representative, and he talked about how, you know, when the water gets high, the big fish move back into the woods. Remember that? Mm-hmm. And they get a lot. I do. They get a lot of the smaller fish because everything moves with the water. Mm-hmm. Everything's moving to a newer food source, a bigger food source and a fresher mm-hmm. food source. So he was saying that a lot of bigger fish are being caught back in areas you wouldn't expect. But then when the water recedes, they get trapped in there sometimes. And that's how this comes about. They get in an area, the water recedes, that's their new home. Mm-hmm. So when the water gets high, that's what you got to do to get back into them.
That's a great example of what we've been talking about on the high water, the advantages of the high water along our river systems. And you know, from the dam all the way down Apalachicola, and Choctahatchee, when it gets up the same way, of course, you know, it'll go up and come back down pretty fast. But a lot of times the Apalachicola is going to stay this high, and it gives the fish more time to go in there.
That's right.
And then when it starts coming out, that's when the old timers would like to set out their trot lines and set hooks as it starts receding, and the fish start working their way out and catch those catfish right there at the mouth of it.
That's right.
Y'all have done that before, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
And when we're talking about the flat-headed catfish, they're going to eat anything. You know,
I love catching a flathead though.
Do you really?
It's like fighting a grouper, yeah.
they're strong.
Very strong. You get down in there and you got to just winch them out. I mean, but you know, man, it's good eating.
They are good. In fact, we need to check up on these flathead tournaments. They should be coming around pretty soon, these catfish tournaments. If y'all know about them, let me know so we can spread the word. I love those tournaments because you fish during the night and weigh in the next morning.
That's right. And that's a nice time, you know. I love being on a boat at night.
Oh, man.
You put your lantern out and you just kind of sit there and chill and wait for something to happen, you know. And it's a nice time to sit there with a buddy and swap stories and just catch up, you know.
Yeah. And it's just right there in God's nature, right there in that river, quietness here, the frogs over here, and every now and then you're going to hear a big hawk or something. And
gator croaking.
Yeah. And you just don't want to hear that panther scream. That's one. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I've heard it as a kid, but I haven't heard it much.
I did too.
Yeah, you heard it as a kid.
Yeah, we used to have one come through the neighborhood pretty frequently there in Appalachia,
Yeah.
but I haven't heard one in years.
Yeah, they're just scary.
It'll wake you up out of a dead sleep.
Okay. Well, we're done about run out of time. We were done a good job today, as always, and we look forward to seeing you next month. And we'll be get some good boat stories, or we'll be looking forward to
We'll
seeing.
try and have something for you.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Daniel Cole. Y'all check him out. I appreciate y'all watching our show. You do something good today for fellow man. Have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.